My inheritance was nothing more than an old, lonely ranch in the middle of a dry, empty desert. My parents, who had a massive fortune, left me what felt like a cruel joke. They probably thought I'd never make anything of myself with such a useless piece of land. But they were completely wrong. I'm Amelia Donovan, the younger daughter of Henry and Margaret Donovan, powerful figures on Wall Street. Our family was known for wealth and influence, running a financial empire worth hundreds of millions. My older sister, Charlotte, was everything my parents wanted: smart, successful, and polished. They treated her like a priceless treasure. I was always the odd one out, never fitting into their high expectations. Instead of chasing an MBA or working with elite clients, I followed my passion for sustainable energy. My parents thought it was a waste of time, not impressive or profitable enough. They never said it directly, but their disappointment was obvious. When they died suddenly in a plane crash, I hoped, deep down, they had left me something meaningful. The will was read in a fancy Manhattan law office. Charlotte looked perfect in her designer clothes. Sitting confidently, I sat quietly at the edge of the table, hoping for a small part of their fortune. Mr. Green, our family lawyer, began. All investments, stocks, the Manhattan penthouse, and liquid assets go to our eldest daughter, Charlotte Donovan. Charlotte smirked at me, victorious. Then Mr. Green continued. To our younger daughter, Amelia Donovan, we leave the Donovan Ranch in Arizona. The room went silent. Charlotte laughed, a cold, mocking laugh. A ranch? She said. Well, Amelia, I guess they thought you'd be better at taking care of cows than handling money. My heart sank. My parents, worth millions, left me nothing but a dusty, forgotten ranch. Charlotte patted my shoulder with fake sympathy. If you ever need money, she whispered, I'm happy to help, with interest, of course. Her words stung, but I held my head high. I didn't know then that the ranch would turn out to be the greatest gift of all. 3 days later, I flew to Arizona. The ranch sat on 200 acres of dry, harsh land. It once belonged to my grandfather, Lionel Donovan, the only family member who ever believed in me. He used to tell me stories about his experiments here, calling the ranch a place full of untapped potential. My father dismissed it as a useless waste of space. But when I arrived, I felt something different. The wind seemed to whisper that the land held secrets. The ranch house was falling apart, broken steps, dusty rooms, and old, worn furniture. But what caught my eye was the massive barn. It looked larger than I remembered, with strong reinforcements. It felt important, like it was hiding something. I found the old key my parents left me and unlocked the barn. The door groaned open, revealing crates, dusty books, and old tools. Something felt off. The inside felt bigger than it should be, like it was hiding more than I could see. A childhood memory came rushing back. My grandfather once told me about a secret room in this barn. As a kid, I thought he was joking, but now, I wasn't so sure. He had told me how to find it. Tap 3 times on the north wall, then push the 4th plank upward. My heart raced as I followed his instructions. The plank shifted, revealing a hidden passage filled with swirling dust. A staircase led into darkness beneath the barn. With my phone flashlight, I carefully climbed down. The air grew colder. The walls weren't old wood, they were reinforced with steel and concrete. At the bottom, I couldn't believe my eyes. A massive underground lab stretched out before me. Desks were covered in maps, charts, and strange equipment. Crates held minerals, some labeled successful trial and new composite. At the far end stood a huge, dusty vault door. My hands shook as I realized what I'd found. My grandfather hadn't wasted his life chasing dreams. He had discovered something big, and now it was mine to uncover. I picked up an old, worn folder with my grandfather's handwriting on it. It said, Lionel Donovan Lithium Extraction Project. Lithium? I whispered, shocked. Suddenly, his strange stories made sense. He wasn't wasting his last years, he was working on a huge secret. There was a massive lithium reserve right under the Donovan Ranch. I flipped through the pages, finding detailed plans for extracting the lithium efficiently while protecting the environment. It was a smart, forward-thinking approach, the kind big companies ignored until recently. This wasn't just any deposit. It could be one of the richest in the country, maybe even the world, and no one else knew it was here. I walked to the old vault, heart pounding. The lock was old but strong. I tried my grandfather's birthdate. Nothing. My dad's? Still locked. Then I tried my own birthday. The lock clicked open. Inside was a small USB drive and a folded letter. The letter, written in my grandfather's shaky handwriting, said Amelia. I protected this project from greedy people, but I always trusted you'd find it. This USB holds everything, the patents, the methods, all of it. In the wrong hands, it could cause great harm, but it could also bring cleaner energy to the world. The choice is yours. My heart raced. This wasn't just an old ranch. It was a gold mine, but a huge responsibility too. If my family, especially Charlotte and Aunt Beatrice, found out, they'd do whatever it took to claim it. That night, I studied every page of Grandpa Lionel's notes, comparing them to what I saw around me. He'd found one of the most important lithium deposits in America, the key to batteries, electric cars, and clean energy. It could be worth billions, but if the wrong people got it, they'd destroy everything for profit. I knew I had to act fast and keep it secret. By morning, I had a plan, 3 important phone calls. The first call, George Harrington, an experienced lawyer I trusted from my past renewable energy projects. He was smart, discreet, and powerful enough to protect the patents. Amelia, it's been a while. An early call means something big, doesn't it? He greeted me. I found something valuable, my grandfather's work. I need it protected. No one can know it's connected to me, I said. George got to work right away. Within an hour, I sent him the documents securely. He promised to file the patents under a hidden company, so no one could trace it back to the Donovan name. It was the perfect defense. Charlotte would lose her mind if she found out the patents were out of her reach. The second call, Bella Kim, a top geologist. She used to teach at a university but now worked with big mining companies. We had worked together on a green energy project before, and I knew she cared about doing things responsibly. Amelia? She answered, surprised. This is unexpected. What do you need? I need you to check something. It's huge, I said carefully. You need to see it in person. She was curious. 2 days later, Bella showed up with her equipment. After hours of testing, she returned with wide eyes. Amelia, do you realize what you have here? Based on the results, this might be the biggest lithium reserve in the US, maybe beyond that. If your grandfather's method works, it could change the entire global market. Hearing her confirm it made my heart race even faster. If we could pull this off the right way, we wouldn't just be successful, we'd be leaders in clean energy. Bella promised to stay and help improve my grandfather's plans to make the process even better. The third call, Owen Chambers, a powerful venture capitalist who funded cutting-edge green technology. He wasn't the type to invest just for profit, he wanted to change the world. Owen, I found something that could change the entire lithium market, I told him. His interest was immediate. I'm in Los Angeles for a few more days. If this is real, I'll fly out. We met in a quiet, private office. I showed him part of Grandpa Lionel's notes, leaving out any mention of the Donovan Ranch. When he finished reading, he looked stunned. You're saying you have a huge lithium deposit and a new way to extract it faster and cleaner? He asked. I nodded. I need funding and connections to scale it, but I won't compromise on protecting the environment. Owen smiled. I'm in. $100 million. We'll form a new company, no ties to your family name. We'll keep everything secret until it's ready. It was exactly what I hoped for. I created Terralith Solutions, a new company hidden behind layers of legal protection. Within weeks, every patent, permit, and drilling right was locked under Terralith's name. Charlotte and Aunt Beatrice wouldn't have a clue. They probably still thought I was wasting time on a worthless ranch. Months passed. Terralith Solutions turned the dusty Donovan Ranch into a high-tech lithium extraction site. Bella and a team of engineers worked day and night, improving my grandfather's plans. We cut costs and reduced environmental damage far beyond what anyone thought possible. No one noticed that the forgotten Donovan Ranch was now a game-changer in the energy industry. Then, Terralith exploded onto the global market. We secured huge deals with Tesla, smartphone companies, and battery manufacturers desperate for reliable lithium supplies. Overnight, we went from a small startup to a $1.2 billion giant. The headlines screamed, Terralith Solutions, the secret startup changing lithium extraction forever. With fame came attention. I knew it wouldn't take long for Charlotte to figure it out. And sure enough, one morning, my phone buzzed. It was her. I answered calmly, Hello, Charlotte. Her voice was tense. Amelia, I need you to tell me the truth. Is Terralith Solutions your company? The whole business world is talking about it. I smiled a little. Yes, I've heard. Why do you ask? She sighed sharply. Why did you keep me in the dark? We're family, we should be working together. The word family hit me hard. I remembered the day Charlotte mocked me at the lawyer's office. "Oh, you mean the same family that gave me a worthless piece of desert land?" I said, voice steady. Charlotte didn't answer. Charlotte tried to sound reasonable. "Mom and Dad wouldn't have wanted you to keep this discovery to yourself. It's bigger than old grudges. We could work together. I have the resources to make this huge." I saw right through her. "Terralith Solutions is doing just fine without your help. Good luck with the Donovan Empire." Her voice turned cold. "You don't understand how complicated this is. You can't handle it alone. Controlling something as important as lithium will draw the wrong kind of attention." I smiled. "I know exactly what I'm doing, Charlotte. Feel free to test me." A week later, Aunt Beatrice, the one who pulls strings behind the scenes, sent legal notices claiming my grandfather's work belonged to the whole Donovan family. They demanded I hand everything over. But I was ready. The patents were legally locked under a trust. Terralith was hidden behind a network of companies. Untouchable. Even if my dad once tried to find grandfather's hidden lab, he never did. I secured every document. Their legal attack collapsed. That led to an emergency family meeting in the Donovans' fancy Manhattan townhouse. I wasn't planning to go, but then I figured it'd be satisfying to see their panic in person. When I walked into the marble-lined conference room, the same one where they used to ignore me, they all stared, unsure now. Aunt Beatrice spoke first, trying to sound calm. "Amelia, we need to talk about the family's holdings." I looked around the room. "Family holdings?" I repeated, thinking about how they treated me like I didn't belong. Charlotte tried to sound friendly. "If we worked together, we could take Terralith to unimaginable heights." Instead of answering, I pulled out Grandfather Lionel's notebook. I read a line he wrote: "Amelia believes in this land's true potential." The room went quiet. I set the notebook down. My parents never believed I'd achieve anything. That was their mistake. I left them sitting there, stunned. They wouldn't give up easily. Donovan pride wouldn't let them. But I'd built strong legal and financial defenses. They couldn't touch me. A few days later, Charlotte invited me to a fancy Manhattan restaurant. I knew she was planning something. She smiled at me from the candlelit table, 2 glasses of wine waiting. After small talk, she leaned in and said softly, "Amelia, Terralith is bigger than just one person. My financial connections could take it even further. We'd be unstoppable as partners." I swirled my wine without drinking. "Why do I feel like you just want control? History tells me you'd push me out." Her confident mask slipped. "We're family. We don't have to be enemies. Can't we work together on something this big?" I laughed a little, like how Dad worked with Grandfather, locking him out of his own inventions until he disappeared into the desert. Charlotte flinched. "That's not the same." I didn't let up. "You'd replace me with your loyal people, and the Donovan name would take over. I'm not falling for it." She sighed, frustrated. "You're being short-sighted." I stood up. "Good luck with your other investments. Terralith doesn't need you." Later, Aunt Beatrice called me, her voice shaking. "Amelia, you're ruining the Donovan legacy. This isn't what your parents would have wanted." I held the phone tighter. "They'd be upset. All right, but at their own mistakes, not mine." I hung up. For the first time, I felt free from their approval. Charlotte's perfect life started falling apart. Some bad real estate deals forced her to sell off luxury properties. Meanwhile, Terralith kept growing. I found out her Manhattan penthouse went up for sale. Through one of my companies, I bought it, for a bargain. 2 weeks later, Charlotte called me, desperate. We met in a quiet cafe. She looked nothing like her usual self, shoulders slumped, eyes full of worry. "You bought my penthouse, didn't you?" she asked, her voice shaky. "Please let me buy it back. I just need time." I looked at her. I remembered how she laughed at me when I inherited Grandfather's ranch. "You're right," I said calmly. "I saw an opportunity." Her hands trembled. "Please. I'll pay you back. Just give me more time." I didn't blink. "No." The color drained from her face. "You told me to ask for help if I ever ran out of money," I reminded her. "If you need help now, contact Terralith's investor relations. I'm sure they'll treat you fairly." I walked out, leaving her stunned. I didn't want to ruin her life, but I wasn't going to let her control mine anymore. The ranch, the so-called worthless inheritance, became a symbol of my success. Terralith kept expanding, building new labs, exploring new technologies. I often thought about Grandfather Lionel. He'd be proud. One day, I got a letter. My old high school invited me to speak at graduation. The theme was finding value in the overlooked. It felt perfect. My parents never believed in me, but that didn't matter anymore. I believed in myself. On the day of the ceremony, I sat in my office at the ranch for a moment, looking at old photos, Dad's guarded smile, Mom's stiff pose, Charlotte's polished grin, and me, the forgotten one, with quiet dreams in my eyes. I smiled to myself. Success, I realized, wasn't about proving them wrong anymore, it was about proving myself right. The Donovans gave me a curse disguised as a gift, a useless patch of desert, but that barren land became my empire, and that, more than anything, was the real treasure.